As of recently, I have not been able to stop reading cozy witchy books. So I read another cozy witchy book recently, and I wasn't gonna make a video about it, but I really loved it so much that I decided I would make a video about it. And that is called Garden Spells by Sarah Addison Allen. This book was recommended to me by Pamela right here on YouTube. I picked it up because I was in a rabbit hole of reading cozy books, and I don't know what it is about them. They uplift the spirit, they're cute, they're magical, and I don't know, they have that kind of like whimsy and wonder that maybe I crave on occasion, when most of the books I read are kind of dark and tragic. So having something a little lighter, a little more fun, and then still getting into like that witchy magical stuff. I love that a lot. And garden spells. I also love to garden and grow things. And so this incorporating stuff with gardening, that is a big draw to me. So this follows the story of two sisters. They are kind of estranged. Their names are Claire and Sydney. Sydney kind of like took off and bounced around and lived all over the place and had a bunch of relationships with really horrible men who were just abusive and POSs for the most part. Usually she would just run and get away from them when the relationship started to go south. But the last one that she was in, she ended up getting pregnant, so she stuck around, but this guy is completely horrible. And so for a couple trigger warnings, there is, abuse, and there also is marital rape. This is happening to Sydney, so she's like, I gotta get out of here and I have to escape. You're like, this cozy book, son? Well, it is, but it has some serious elements to it. So the sister hasn't wanted to return home. She doesn't want anything to do with the Waverly name, and the Waverly name is associated with basically like this family of witches. They're witches and they're magical, but everyone in the town they live in kind of like, they don't call them witches. They just know that if you eat something or drink something that this family makes for you, you may have good luck, or certain things or effects will happen that bring you, good things and whatnot. And so the other sister, Claire, she has stayed at the house. She liked that stability. Like when she was born and growing up, her mom that she lived with, Lorelai, like they bounced around and her mom would steal and they had a very unstable life, and like it really sucked. And then her mom got pregnant again with her sister Sydney, and when she had Sydney, she decided to go back and live with their mom or their grandmother to have a stable growing up for the second daughter. Well, Claire hated this. She was like, how is this even fair that for the first 6 years of her life, she had to live in this unstable environment and live in a car sometimes while her mom was like stealing stuff, hoping they had enough to eat. And all of a sudden, oh, the other daughter's born. And she's like, well, for this daughter, let's give her stability and a good home. So that animosity was there, and that made Claire and Sydney not always get along together. But Sydney didn't want to be part of that family. And it's funny because then Sydney became kind of like what the mother was before. But she never knew that Claire had all this like animosity built up about that. So what brings them back together is Sydney has this horrible, evil man in her life, and the only place that she could probably run where he doesn't find her, because she had ran one other time, he found her and, took her back, beat the crap out of her where she thought she was going to die, and then raped her. She has a different name. She doesn't go by Sydney, and so he doesn't know her real name or her real last name. So she decides she's gonna go home, and she just kind of shows up on Claire's doorstep, and Claire's like, all right. And she sees that she has a daughter. Sydney's daughter's name is Bay, and Claire decides, you know what, she's gonna try to have a good relationship with her daughter. And she sees that like Sydney is actually a really good mom and loves her daughter, but she's very afraid. Claire has been abandoned all her life. Like their mother left them also. So the mom finally moved them back to the grandma's house, and then the mom just like took off and abandoned them there with the grandma and then never came back. And so then her sister had also left and abandoned her. So she has serious abandonment issues. And so she's always just waiting for her sister to leave. All right. Dramatic stuff. Crap hits the fan. The sisters are back together. And once these two are back together, they slowly start to heal. And that's where it starts to get magical and more cozy, but also with real life stuff. Claire does catering and she does these different events, and they have this garden in the backyard, and they have this apple tree that's kind of like sentient likes to throw apples at people. And the thing about this apple tree is if you eat the apple will show you one of the most significant events in your lives, which could either be really horrible or really, really great. So you might see your own death, or you might see the person that's going to be your soulmate. Could go either way. Anyways, so you get more into it, and you get all the stuff that Claire is making and all the magical effects it has and these little recipes, and it's so lovely. Like, I love the in the kitchen just like magical stuff, and like with the different flowers and making these different types of wines. A wine to bring all the good memories to you, so you drink that wine and you re-experience and remember all these good times. And there's also like this other wine that makes you be able to see in the dark, and like all this like just cute cozy stuff. And like the sisters becoming closer, meeting the new neighbor, this guy Tyler, who ends up being crazy about Claire. And Claire is so standoffish because everyone in her life has abandoned her, and so she really does not want a relationship and fights it at every turn. But you know, it's a cozy book, so in cozy books, what do we have? We have romance. Come on. So eventually maybe they don't end up together. I can't tell you. Maybe they do. You'll just have to read it to find out. And then Sydney, she reconnects with someone from their hometown that used to be one of her best friends when she was younger, and she only sees him as a friend, but he's the nicest, most supportive guy ever. And she's just dated and been with garbage hole men her whole life, because most of them are garbage pieces of crap. Maybe this friendship will go somewhere. We'll see. And then does the evil a-hole find her? I don't know, but I tell you what, if he does, she is supported by a ton of people that love and support her, and there is magic, and there's a bunch of people that will probably stand up for her. This book was really great. I loved it because it was super cozy, but I also loved, it's like, this is stuff that happens in life and in real life and in people's relationships. People go through a lot of crap. So being able to combine both of those things into a cozy book that was like hopeful and beautiful and magical, it was a beautiful thing. And I loved it so much, I got the sequel to it. So there's a second book that I will be getting into soon, and I'm looking forward to that. Thank you, Pamela, for the recommendation. Awesome. I definitely want to read more of this author outside of just this book too, because I guess she has other books. So I'll be looking into those as well. So if you're a fan of cozy books and crave more cozy books, you're going to want to stick around, because the next video is about cozy books to read on a rainy day. It doesn't have to be rainy. It can be any kind of weather. Just cozy books to read. Check it out. And if you had fun hanging out today, hit that subscribe button, come back, see me again, and we'll talk about more bookish things and weird stuff.